Oh no! It's morning!
And that means it's time
for Morning Friends with R.O.T.N.
best way to start your morning off.
Well, hello, and welcome back to Morning Friends with R.O.T.N. Now, I know that many of you have grown accustomed to our fun little skits and witty little banter and these whimsical little intros that we record, but unfortunately today, oh trepidatious listener, that is simply not going to be the case. No, instead, today, Father Ritalin has blessed us once again with a beautiful intro of chaos and insanity. So, for the first time on this program, I introduce to you the new opening to Morning Friends with R.O.T.N. Enjoy. Don't forget, guys, this weekend at Hellbilly Hollow we'll be having our actor sign up, and we'll be working on a little commercial for this season. That's right, Hellbilly Hollow. Hellbilly Hollow. Hellbilly Hollow. That's where you want to be. Come to Hellbilly Hollow on Saturday. Check Facebook and your local listings for more information. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Morning Friends with R.O.T.N. And today we have a very, very special guest.
Yes.
We've been keeping up with this guy for a long time. He is an amazing haunt actor. He does sliding. He creates his own props. I mean, he's got a multitude of characters. He is an amazing dude. Today we've got Pongo Joe. I'm going to turn it over to Grant to do a little introduction.
Yes, we have a traveling scare actor, professional slider, and he creates slider gear. He also juggles and can contact juggle, among many other great things. We have Joseph Bodken.
Yay!
Hello.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
Well, thank you for deciding to come along on our ragtag, worst, terrible production value that is R.O.T.N. So I want to start off by saying the last interaction we had with Joseph was that in person was that he came to Hellbilly Hollow for Hell Night.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody realized that it was Joseph, because like the whole time I'm like, dude, he looks so familiar. And I even came up and whispered something in his ear that night, and then I was like, shit, that was Joseph. I'm an idiot.
You see, I wanted, I'd heard about the Hell Night for a couple years, and every time it came up, I just didn't get a chance to go. So when it came up last time, I was like, oh man, I got this opportunity. So, I went ahead and I just jumped in my car and went down to Hellbilly Hollow to check it out. So, I'm kind of spontaneous like that, but yeah, it was a good time.
Well,
It was so fun.
I have to say, I actually did notice you and thought it was you, but since nobody else seemed to know that, I just assumed I was wrong.
So it's funny because that Hell Night, we really had to like pull out Tim's back teeth to get him to do an extra Hell Night because we missed out the first one, and
that was a phenomenal night. We had 6 different haunts represented come out there. Plus he was out there. There was a couple of other people out. It was
Which
just a great night.
technically Pongo Joe represents a whole lot of different haunts.
Yeah, he does. No shit. We had like
something like that.
So turn over to Grim. She's going to give you some questions.
So I heard you just got a job narrating audiobooks. How is that going?
Ooh.
Yes. So I am a month into that. That is so I've always been like a voice actor. I've loved using my voice. It's something that I spent a lot of time, training for. And it was something that I kind of put on the back burner for a little while. I did a few haunt promos here and there. You can hear my voice at like Murder House in like Tampa, Florida. And I think, what was it, Nightmare Dungeon up in North Carolina?
Introducing the scariest haunted attraction in the state of South Carolina, Nightmare Dungeon. 2 stories of full-throttle horror in this 115-year-old cabin in the woods.
So I did a few promos, and then I got caught up doing the haunting, like you do,
Right.
And I was absorbed in that, and then I got an opportunity. It was with this company that does audiobooks for a couple different. It's like, here's our pool of actors, and here are like the 3 or 4 companies that we work for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's
so kind of like an audiobook agency in a way.
Yeah. I talked to my old friend Jessica, who I guess she'd been up in New York for a couple years, and I noticed that she hadn't been doing her touring group because that's something. She's an actor too. So I was like, hey, what you been doing? She's like, oh, I've been doing these audiobooks, and we're actually hiring. And so I gave them, a couple paragraphs of Odd Thomas, which is one of my favorite books.
Oh, good
I
book.
love Odd Thomas. I have the whole series.
Yeah, I think it was a great book, and apparently it was a good audition because like within the week they were like, hey, we'd like to send you a contract and get you started real quickly. And I was like, oh shit, this never really happens that fast, but it did. And here I am now, a month in, and I have completed 1 book, and I'm on my way to completing the 2nd book, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's exciting.
It's funny because we're gonna probably chronologic your work backwards because last thing I saw you doing was that you were doing some really cool videos for the McWane Center, man, and we applaud the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's my other job. I have a few at this point. But yeah, McWane, I'd been an educator, and during the pandemic, things just went sideways. Marketing and all this stuff just wasn't happening for McWane. Birmingham Zoo and everybody else they were just ahead of us. So I took some initiative, and I got with my department, and we started. I was like, let's make some stuff. Let's make some virtual content for the people at home, or the folks who who don't want to come out and come to McWane in person. Hell, we were closed for like, I want to say 3 months. So we kind of had to like put our heads together and figure out some stuff to do. So I did a video series for them, which was a lot of fun.
Hi there. My name is Mr. Joseph. And we are going to get into a fun science experiment today. How many of you have heard of elephant toothpaste?
Well, I'll tell you, man, I caught a couple of those videos, and it really reinvigorated like my interest in the McWane Center at all, because it had kind of, like you said, it had become so stagnant that there wasn't a lot of existence out there for it.
Yeah, and I think, it was a shakeup for a lot of people when it came to social media and the kind of things that you can create. Yeah, it was certainly a shakeup for McWane, who they didn't really have much of a social media presence before, and now they're posting regularly, and it's all getting a little bit better. I mean, we all learn, It's been fun to see the directions that you can go. I know, I've been on Instagram for years, and I had made videos before, but I was very much challenged to make better things in just the last 2 years, and trying to change your format around. I'd been so used to Instagram and everything. TikTok was a very different animal.
Yeah.
But it's also an inspiration in and of itself. Just by having the tools that they have on there, it inspires you to do more things with it and play with it more.
Very inspiring, very very creative. One of my favorite trends that had happened was the mirror transitions, the wipe it down mirrors.
I love the wipe it down video.
It is so much fun. I was like, well, I got these haunt characters and stuff. And at the time when I joined TikTok, there were only a few haunters here and there on there. And I was like, oh man, this is uncharted territory. I don't know what to do. I'm seeing these dancing videos. I'm seeing, there would be dancing videos. Some of it would be kind of like Vine, from the older days. And, I never knew what to make of it. So, I was like, well, I'm going to try to do some haunt content, because we need more haunters and more, spooky stuff, on TikTok.
Definitely.
Sorry, we're still kind of starstruck, so deal with us.
So I want the
No, it's fine. I just, man, it's been really cool, because, cut to now, you guys have been on there. I see you guys a lot. And you have such a group dynamic. And so that's been very different. I commend you guys being able to get together and like hunker down and, get some work done.
Yeah, we decided, honestly, Grim sort of introduced us to TikTok and was like, hey, we got to start working.
Yeah, Matt and I thought we were too old for it.
Yeah.
No.
I know so many people said that. I was like, nah, man, you got to get on there. Like one of my close friends from, up in the Midwest, Cody, he's a slider. He goes by Slider Jesus.
Yes, we've seen a lot of his videos.
He kept telling me, no, I'm not going to get on TikTok. I'm too old for that. And I'm like, no, man, I'm telling you, you go on there and you're going to do great. And he did. And so many other folks, so many haunters and, people in the haunt industry, kind of uploading not just character videos, but sometimes the progress on their builds, painting, and of course, the makeup transitions as well. So it's brought a lot of artists together and challenged them to make very creative content.
We pretty much tell everybody when we go and pitch for doing commercials for them, like, look, TikTok was the #1 most visited site last year. The #1. Like, if you don't have a presence on there, you're missing a huge audience.
Oh yeah, I agree.
One thing I loved is your video you did. You filmed it at Sloss. It was the Jack Skellington video.
Oh yeah, that's been a while.
So oh my God, I love it. I saved it in my phone. I loved it so much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was back. I thought about reshooting it. I like the equipment that I did it on. It was the DJI Osmo Steadicam. It's kind of like on a gimbal.
Nice.
And this was also at a time, this is before the pandemic, so you really could just go to Sloss and nobody'd bother. You didn't really have to really sign a waiver or anything. And it was me and Adrian who filmed that, and we did it so much. We made up so much on the spot, and I just I recorded everything here at the house and mixed it, and then pretty much made a music video out of it, just walking around Sloss. And it was so organic. It was so much fun to do. And I still look back at that video too. I used to sing. I haven't done that in a little while.
I used to love your singing videos, dude.
Yeah.
You have such an amazing voice.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm the master of fright and the demon of light, and I'll scare you right out of your pants. To a guy in Kentucky, I'm Mr. Unlucky, and I'm known throughout England and France.
I got stuff recorded, which is it's crazy because I got songs between two of the computers that I've recorded, and I haven't released them because I was like, well, I got to make a video of them, and that takes time.
Yeah.
It's one thing to
And you're
record.
always so busy.
I'm very busy, and it's one thing to do like a 10, 15 second, 30-second, minute, piece of content, small. But to do 3-4 minutes, of a song, and come up with a shot list and everything, it gets a lot harder and takes more time, and you just need more resources for it. But eventually, I'd like to turn those into videos at some point.
Well, I'll say this, and this is for you, gentle listeners. Pongo Joe, or Joseph Bodken, I always call you Pongo. I don't know why. It always pops in
You
my
can be
head.
found on Instagram
Yes.
and TikTok as Pongo
Yes.
underscore Joe.
Yes. But listener, he makes our videos look like cotton candy. His cinematography is phenomenal.
Yes.
His pacing, their panning, like everything about your videos, I love the hell out of. Now
Such beautiful shots.
we try to dumb down our stuff. Like there's been stuff that I got that looked really pretty, and I was like, oh man, I got to throw some vomit on there because this is. We spend a lot of our time downgrading our footage. But dude, you're such an inspiration to like what we do, and
everyone in the haunt community.
yes.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. As far as my videos go, I take a lot of inspiration from, at least a couple different sources. Sometimes my videos, they're not necessarily scary. Sometimes I'm really into the melancholy, kind of somber, sort of dreamy tone to some of them, because the way I see, haunting is very whimsical. I think it's a lot of play. It's a play that you don't really get to do as an adult. And I approach it very childlike. I'm very much a fan of like the Gremlins and old Steven Spielberg.
Gremlins. That's Gremlins right here.
Gremlins, I like the play of it, so that ends up showing up in my videos. And as far as the cinematography goes, very, very hard inspiration is a lot. Not necessarily the stories that he tells, but the look is Zack Snyder.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of some of the images that he is able to create. Especially like in his latest movie, was it Army of the Dead?
Yeah.
I found out that he used some old Canon Dream lens and he stuck it on a new camera. He had to adapt it, a bunch of different ways. It was a pain in the ass, but he directed it and he did the cinematography himself. And it was this really crazy, blurry, dreamy zombie movie. It seemed like it was hot, every shot. And it seemed just kind of weird and visceral. And I'd seen looks like that similar, but I was like, oh man, I gotta have something like that. So, I ended up getting myself a weird, wacky lens that ends up, making the background just blurry as hell.
Yeah.
And I love the way, the monsters, my characters and anybody I shoot with it. I love the way that the image that it produces. And it's just it's been incredible. I used it all last haunt season, which was really weird because I'd be there performing. I'd be out there scaring people, and then I'd run back to the break room and I'd grab the camera and I'd film for a little bit. And I'd do that a little bit here and there throughout the night because I wanted to capture haunting. I wanted to capture what other people were doing. And there's something sentimental to me about it because sometimes people come and go in the haunt industry so quickly. Their time can be very brief in it. So just the fact I was able to capture, the people that I captured at all, is a big deal, because people sometimes, they just retire, or they're like, you know what, I did this for 2 or 3 years, I think I'm done.
Oh yeah, we see that happen all the time.
Yeah.
Or, life happens, and you gotta kind of quit for like a year or two, and then, you come back, and, it is what it is. But I just, I found it important to, capture it and try to, share it with people.
So would you like to sort of go over a list of the different haunts that you've worked at?
Yeah. So, my first haunt was in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where I'm from. And this was when I was like 20 years old, and I didn't know anything, about haunting. It was just it was an old food world that somebody had turned into a haunt. And I'd driven past it on my way to like Calhoun Community College at the time. I drove past it like, I don't know how many times. And the more it got close to like August, September, the more they were like, hey, we need people. So I stopped in, and, I asked for a job, and, they taught me all kinds of cool stuff, and, gave me a spot in like the funeral parlor, and that's where it started. And then eventually, a couple years later, I would move down to Birmingham, and I'd always known about Sloss. And I'd gone to it many years, ever since I was like 14 years old. I went to Sloss Fright Furnace, but I guess I've had a habit of never actually working for the OG haunt in the city, because I ended up working for Warehouse 31 for like 3 or 4 years, because it was like the new haunt in town, and it was something, I didn't know what kind of establishment they had at Sloss, or because sometimes there'll be veterans and stuff there. They might give you a hard time. I was kind of used to it at that point, but so I went to Warehouse 31 for a couple years, and that was fun for a little while. I learned a lot, from the makeup artists there, Cam and Jody. They taught me a lot of cool stuff. And then from there, I started guest acting. It was very small at first. The first haunt that I had ever guest acted was with me and my partner Adrian at Arx Mortis. And it was at kind of at a different time, because it wasn't always Arx Mortis. It was like Greystone Manor for a little while, and then management changed, and then it was Arx. Me and Adrian decided that we wanted to go to California. We wanted to, because we'd been sliding at that point for a couple years, and we wanted to know, the OG folks who created it were out at Knott's Scary Farm. That was like the pinnacle of everything, and we were all starry-eyed about it. And so we were like, let's try to move out there, and let's try to work for some folks out there. And the move was incredibly hard. This was in like 2017. It was hard, and it was like a crazy transition. But funnily enough, we didn't actually end up working for Knott's. We found another haunt that we just fell in love with. Again, we didn't work with the OG haunt of the city. We ended up working for Queen Mary's Dark Harbor, which that was my brand of just whimsical fun, dark carnival, just fun. It was amazing. It was a great time, because haunts are different everywhere, and to an extent, there are similar things. But by the time we had gotten to California, I don't know exactly what their rules were like, 10 years prior to that, but Knott's and the other haunts like Fright Fest and HHN, the more commercial haunts, ended up having a lot of rules that just kind of, I'm not saying rules are bad, but I'm just saying, it was hard to be yourself. It was hard to act. And the only place that was that embraced that kind of rebel attitude was Queen Mary's Dark Harbor. And it was a match made in hell. Our boss loved us there. We were crazy assholes. And that's where, Pongo really started taking off. And it was just great. We were, I mean, we got away with all kinds of crap. They were serving, like alcohol to the guests and stuff. So the guests would kind of be assholes to us. So we had kind of the liberty to be assholes back.
Awesome. That is awesome.
It was just a fun, great time. And, we eventually, moved back about a year later, and we decided, well, I think guest acting would just be a better way of, serving our time. And, I really started, building up my Instagram, trying to create scare reels, because, nobody knew who I was. And, no haunt owner is going to be like, who the hell are you? You want to come guest act? And I was like, well, I want to show you something that I can act, and that I can do something that would be beneficial to you. So I started making these scare reels. Kind of, some of it was footage that I had made, and some of it was footage that I had found from guests who had taken video of me, and they had put it on Instagram. So I would cut these little reels together of me scaring. Some of it's from Warehouse 31. Some of it's from Dark Harbor. It's from all over the place. And so I used that as, like a way to, mull over, get the haunt owner to, hire me to come and, scare, because I had something different that I could, be kind of like a bonus to the haunt in a way. So I went with that. And at that point, I started going to Netherworld in Atlanta, and then Nashville Nightmare, just two really big fun haunts. And then, I'd still work here in Bama. I'd go to Nightmare 3008, because I live right down the street from those guys. So they're a lot of fun, and they let me go ham on people.
Yes, they do.
Well, here at R.O.T.N, we definitely consider them the most metal haunt.
Oh yeah, they're a blast. And so I've been up to Chicago. I've worked Massacre Haunted House. I've worked 13th Floor. 3 of their locations now: House of Torment in Texas, 13th Floor Chicago, and Nashville Nightmare in Nashville, Tennessee. And I've also spread out to North Carolina, and I've worked at Lake Hickory Haunts and Woods of Terror.
Nice.
Ooh.
So
you definitely had a crazy adventure.
I kind of made a tour out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you about was all of your amazing different characters. So I wanted to ask you, exactly how many different characters do you have?
I love the Johnny Gobbs one.
Yes. So I'm rolling with I think just 5 at this moment, and I'm trying to make sure I don't go too crazy on it. And some of these characters, I like them to change, as time goes by. Pongo's gone through at least 2 iterations, and I've kind of solidified, his look and, the way he does things. And Gobbs, he's changed them. I've changed him a bit, and he's Gobbs the Goblin. And the Hunter, which is my very Western tombstone revolver ocelot video gamey like character.
Let me ask you about that character. I saw this video forever ago. It popped back up on my YouTube. You have some amazing gun twisting skills, man.
Yes.
Definitely revolver ocelot skills.
Blows my mind. Everything you touch, you turn into gold.
Well, you see, I'm very, I'm a kind of a fidgety person. Okay. So I like to fidget with shit. And, gun spinning is something that I've done for a couple years as just for fun. And then I thought this could be an entertaining thing to do, while people are waiting in line to go into the haunt. So I built a character around that skill. And I'm very much inspired by Metal Gear Solid, which is another, dreamy, somber, weird story of video game. And,
I was going to throw out there for the audience, like the Revolver Ocelot references from Metal Gear Solid.
oh yeah, very, very much. And I love the way that looked. And so, of course, I went back to Sloss and I did a video for that. And, it became, because up until that point, my biggest thing is like, I gotta scare everybody. And this was my way of, I could still scare people as the only like intimidating character that I have, and I could entertain them as well. People in Nashville, especially, they just loved it, and I ended up using that character mostly in Nashville Nightmare. Really, the more southern, kind of haunts. So,
well,
that was
from Nashville, so I can definitely see how well that character would go over there.
Yeah, it was a blast. And then I came out with my vampire character, who he's gone through a different iteration now, and as well as one of my most favorite scary characters is a fucking cartoon, Mr. Nope.
And Mr. Nope is one of my favorites because of you can be that whimsical that you're speaking of, and no matter how whimsically you act, you are still terrifying as Mr. Nope.
Still very
so
creepy.
well. Fucking love it.
It is the one character that other haunters do not like. I took him to because the guy who makes my masks, his company is Inferno Effects, and so I was out there modeling for his booth, and of course I took Mr. Nope out while I was at Trans World, and other haunters they winced or they cringed at him and they didn't like him, and I just thought that just made me giddy. Even taking him to Netherworld, that was one of the biggest things. Netherworld's like, oh man, shelf Pongo, I want to see this guy with the big shoulders and the weird face. And so I took him out to Netherworld. It was great.
Weird thing about Mr. Nope is that the first time I saw him, it harkened me back to Drop Dead Fred and the scene where he gets his head stuck in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And he does that kind of little dance and he wipes his forehead. Like his over exaggerated actions, like I was like, dude, I was just immediately drawn to that character.
Yes.
I love the hell out of that character.
Oh yeah, he's just an absolute blast. And I've taken him to Nightmare 3008, and there's not a whole lot that phases John Hammer Hancock. But for whatever reason, Mr. Nope got to him, and I thought that was hilarious.
That's awesome. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about something that we see you do all the time, and we just like are enamored by it, and that is that you are really deeply mired in activist activity, that you'll go out and stand with people and you have a big opinion about things, and we think that's amazing.
Such a good example. You are such a good example for how people should be. Like, I fucking admire the shit out of you.
Yeah, me and Adrian are very active in the community. It can be we're living in some pretty hard times. And it's been really crazy with a lot of the politics and how this pandemic has changed people, and how just a lot that's going on in our country. And again, like recently with Roe v. Wade being overturned, I think it is good to speak out. And I've had a lot of haunters come at me and be like, oh, you should separate, we don't want to hear any of that. And I'm like, hey, if you want to cherry pick the shit that I do, then just do that. But just know, if you're gonna follow me, if you're gonna be my friend on Facebook, I'm gonna be honest, and you're gonna get all my other bullshit in your feed too. So
Yeah.
whatever. You know, I do have an opinion about it, and I don't care who knows it really. And it's something that, you know, I am proud that I do it, and I'm proud that I do it within, you know, that I'm part of the haunted house community, because sometimes, and it's been a thing for years, in the haunt industry, that, you know, people get really stuck in their ways, and it just gets, you know, fallen to the wayside. Sexual abuse, grooming, bad pay, all kinds of stuff that are problematic and have been problematic, you know, going as far back, you know, as the 80s.
Yeah.
And while other industries, communities, and businesses have moved on and have made many strides in changing their message and how they do business, you know, what their mission is, the haunt industry has had a hard time, you know, moving forward. And I want, you know, for the next generation of haunters to be able to come work at a haunt and feel safe, be able to do this really fun thing, and know that it's going to be okay. You know, their safety, that the people who are managing them are good people and want them to have a good time. They can make friends, you know, even family per se, and really enjoy, you know, what haunting should be. You know?
Agreed. And I think a lot of those issues have been so prevalent simply because of the outsider community that's not a part of the haunt community not recognizing it as a real job or a real business. But that's one of the things I love most about the haunt community is the family aspect to it.
Yeah.
And so if we can just get those certain individuals to stop trying to exploit the way the rest of the world sees it, and be able to show the rest of the world what a great community it can be.
Yeah, and that's, you know, there's stigma towards, you know, niche industries, and we're still, even though in the last 10 years haunting has really exploded. Haunts are the size of amusement parks, are in amusement parks now. They've exploded. Even then, we're still kind of stigmatized, you know, and seen as just this small niche community, when it's, you know, it's become big business and it's become very professional, and we have a lot to offer. And it's, you know, not just on the acting side, you know, producing, marketing, and I like sharing that, you know. But even on, you know, on TikTok, I'll still get comments, you know, just calling me like, "Oh, you damn dirty carny, you know, what are you doing with your life?" You know, and I'm like, listen here, you old bastard, come on. I'm telling you right now, you may not believe it, but yeah, I just got paid to scare them.
Exactly.
They wanted me to do it. So,
You know,
Always going to be those kinds of trolls on any social media for sure, because it's easy to be a keyboard warrior when you're not actually putting your own face at risk.
well, one of the things, like you talk about how the industry has been booming in the last 10 years.
Definitely.
I mean, from our position where we're at right now in Alabama, within a 2-hour radius, there are almost 16 to 17 haunts we can get to. And that, dude, 10 years
That's
ago
huge.
was unheard of.
yeah, it's incredible. I often, and, you know, say what you will, I don't really do what is it, the Hell Week much
Right.
anymore. I don't usually work Hell Week. I usually take that time to run the gambit. You know, I like to go to as many haunts as I can, you know, to walk through. And, you know, in almost in one night, I was able to go to Sloth's Fright Furnace, to Nightmare 3008, to Insanitarium. And then I think the following night, I was able to do Aatrox and I think Hellbilly Hollow. I think this was in 2018. Yeah, 2018.
So you got another question, Grimble?
Yes, I really wanted to know how you like the Midwest Haunters Convention.
Oh yeah, so yeah, Midwest was I think back in June, and that's always a fun convention to go to. It's still so it has changed location. It's one of those conventions that doesn't always, I think it was in Ohio for a little bit, but it's been to at least two different locations in Chicago and then like one in Milwaukee. It's a smaller con, but it's a fun con nonetheless, and it is a great way to experience the Midwest Chicago haunters because very much like here in Bama and especially Birmingham specifically, they got a whole community of different haunts, and they all do the same things that we do. We go to each other's haunts whenever we can, especially if they have like a special Christmas event or whatever. So it's fun to see that community and get to know those people. They have some really cool haunts up there. 13th floor up there is actually really good, and as well as Massacre and Midnight Terror, and they all bring their own little flavor. Just like we do down here. The difference between Aatrox and like Warehouse 31. Everybody tries to bring their own flavor to it, and it's really cool and fun to see. And they have a really cool little trade show floor. So if you want to get a new mask or whatever, which I have done, there's another place to spend some money, like you do. I wouldn't say that I'm anchored in one place, but I am spending a good chunk of my season at one haunt, which I haven't really been able to figure out a good way to announce it. So I guess for context, let me tell you, there's a new haunt in Tennessee called Halloween Hollow, and I've been doing a lot of work for them since I think March, May, yeah, and they've hired me to play their icon character, Rewind the Vampire video store clerk. Sorry. And do some video work for them. So I'm going to be spending a good chunk of my season with them this time.
So that's one we have to put in the books to go and visit then.
Now, what part of Tennessee is it in?
It is Halloween Hollow, and it is in Silver Point, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
And I am, I have probably the places that I've guest acted. I love them. It has been amazing. I've guest acted at Netherworld for, going on 6 or 7 years now. And, I love all these folks, but this is a brand new haunt that I get to really contribute in a meaningful way to me. And that is, I think that's great. I love a new haunt. I love, new fresh ideas. The folks that I'm working for are really amazing people, and they have been open to my ideas as well, and changing things around, doing video work for them and playing this character. It's been a blast so far, so that's something I'm really excited about.
That's awesome. All right, so listeners, you hear that? Put that in your dream journals, because you've got to go visit that haunt this year.
Oh yeah, it is pretty much booked as like Halloween Hollow, Halloween fun for everyone. It is going to be very classic, very John Carpentery, 80s inspired. My midway and like the start of one of the haunts is a video store.
Nice.
It looks amazing. People have been, because it has its own page, people think it's an actual video store, and the way they've been taking pictures of it. And I was like, no, it's actually the beginning of a haunt, but if you want to. So that's going to be awesome.
So yeah, man, is there anything want to give you a couple of minutes here, just plug yourself, tell people where they can find you at, where they can find all your information and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, and that's the other side of it. And what I've been talking about is the social media, because there's so many people who be like, oh man, I just missed you last weekend. I was going to go this weekend and something went wrong. That's why I'm always like, hey, you're not going to be able to catch every live performance or whatever. Check the social media. You can find me at Pongo _ Joe on pretty much everything. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. That's the best way. That's the best way to find me. And I like to offer something a little different. Even within my social media content. Some of my videos, what you'll see in the videos, will be different than what you might see live. So that's where you can find me.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
Hey guys, I really appreciate you guys having me on here. I love what you guys do. I think you guys have such a fun group, and again, you're another part of the community here.
And I promise you that down the line we will have some collaborative work. I guarantee we are going to make this happen, because we've got to get you on something, dude.
I'm telling you, dude, I'd love to come out, and I'd love to bring my camera out and capture some stuff with you guys. Make some fun content together. And well, what are you guys? Maybe like 45 minutes away? You guys are down the road.
Just right up the road.
Well, considering how much traveling you do, it can't be that complicated. So.
Yeah. The 10-hour drive.
On the way to somewhere.
Yeah. So it'd be fun. I'd be up for it.
Good deal.
Well, again, we appreciate the hell out of having you on. We cannot applaud you enough at your efforts. Dude, you keep us entertained on a daily. You keep the community rolling. And for that, man, that's the most rotten thing you can do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my God. I really appreciate that.
Well, everybody, this has been Joseph Bodken with Morning Friends with R.O.T.N. Be sure to follow him up, dude. If you want to catch this badass in action, follow him, go wherever he goes. And I promise you, without a shadow of a doubt, you will get one of the best shows you have ever gotten before.
Absolutely.
And much love and respect, Joseph. Stay rotten, brother.
Stay rotten.
All right, man. Thank you. Catch you later.
So we again want to thank Joseph Bodken for coming on and just hanging out with us. Such a cool guy.
Hell yes, it makes me so fucking happy that we got him!
And he is a phenomenal haunter, and he's just a role model. And dude, we cannot thank him enough. He is such a phenomenal actor.
And entertainer, performer, and everything demonic entity that he is.
Yes, he makes me very jealous of my capability of things.
It makes me so happy I scream!
So again, thank you guys for listening to Rotten Morning today. Stay tuned to next week to catch another episode, and go and check out Joseph Bodken, aka Pongo Joe.
Check him out. Do it now.
Everywhere.
It now.
Do it now.
Do it!
Much rotten love, guys. Stay rotten.
Thank you, and stay rotten.
Well, thanks for joining us for this episode of Morning Friends with R.O.T.N. And remember to tune in next Wednesday for the very next episode of Morning Friends with R.O.T.N. This is R.O.T.N. and these are our morning friends. Stay rotten, guys. And also be sure to check out Rotten Mornings Podcast. Another misspelled word. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week, partner.